Tim, what do you think about FSR4 finally being AI-based? We've got our AI quota met.
Well, it was interesting to see AMD actually talk about this sort of on the record. Normally with their future-looking stuff, they hide it away and not really talk about it until it's ready. But it was interesting to hear them come out and say, yeah, we're working on AI-based technologies for this, and we've been doing so, I think they said, for the last 9 to 12 months, which is certainly promising. And we obviously saw with the PS5 Pro launch, they've got their own AI upscaling solution, which has to work on effectively an AMD GPU that's in that console. So you'd be hoping that AMD is working on a similar sort of tech. So yeah, I mean, obviously it's a good thing, I think, that they're sort of moving with the times and they've seen what's been possible with DLSS and XCSS, both of which use AI algorithms to enhance the quality. And both of those solutions, in my opinion, have better quality than what you'd see from FSR. So it's pretty clear that they weren't really improving too much the visual quality we were seeing from FSR over the years. There's been some small improvements, but it's never really been able to catch up with what the AI solutions have been doing. So it really makes sense for them to do it. The question is, why has it taken them until now to get with the times? Because DLSS3 was released back in, was it 2020 or 2021? I'm not sure. It was quite a while ago now. And so NVIDIA has been using an AI upscaler for many, many years. They've been able to refine it over that time. Maybe it's because Radeon cards don't have as many AI capabilities as GeForce GPUs. So potentially they've tried to not go down that path because their cards can't really handle AI processing. It seems there is some AI capabilities on those GPUs. I'm not sure how valid that's been. But I think most of the reason that we're only seeing it now is that they've tried this strategy of let's make FSR work well across all GPUs to try and snuff out DLSS, make developers only have to integrate one solution, and that just hasn't worked. Like, it hasn't stopped the momentum of DLSS in any way. If anything, it's probably gotten less competitive over time as people have sort of thinking of DLSS more and more of a selling point of GeForce cards. So it's coming a little late for my liking. I don't know what your sort of thoughts are on that, but
I think that was probably their strategy. And initially, I would have thought that strategy would probably find some success. But to NVIDIA's credit, they just kept making DLSS better and better to the point where they couldn't really head off the DLSS threat that way by an open source solution. So I wouldn't be surprised if that was the plan, but NVIDIA did a really good job developing DLSS over the years and into the feature that it is today. So they're really having to now just change tactic and compete directly with DLSS rather than try and replace it with, a more easily or an easier to integrate, more widely supported feature.
Yeah, and I think Intel has shown with XCSS that you can create a technology that's got different pathways for different GPUs. So XCSS has got their XMX path, which is used on their Arc GPUs, which is the more advanced AI upscaling solution that uses their AI cores on their GPUs. And they've got a couple of different paths. The DP4A one's kind of the main one that's used across all the other GPUs. And that's been, I'd say, pretty successful. They've, in fact, improved the DP4A version quite a lot over the years. So they've kind of shown you can do that. And so it is possible for an FSR4 technology to have a more advanced path, the AI path or whatever, for the GPUs that can do it, and then just revert back to the older versions of FSR for cards that can't quite handle that. Because I think the hardware support is probably a big thing. They've kind of, AMD's maybe been playing catch up a little bit in terms of AI processing across their products, and it hasn't really been needed for too much. Like, you can't say on a GeForce GPU for gaming you're doing all that much AI stuff outside of DLSS. NVIDIA would probably disagree, and they'd like to sell you on a few other features that aren't quite there yet, but that's mainly what you've bought Tensor cores for as a GPU owner, like a GeForce GPU owner. It's been for DLSS, and AMD's been a little behind on that. But, it's good for them to play catch up, but once they do have this AI upscaler available for people to use, they can't just, I guess, wait too long for the next technology to come around to catch up. They need to be at the forefront of these things, not... it was years between DLSS2 and FSR2, for example. I think they took too long to get that feature out. With frame generation, again, it was pretty much a year before. They announced their feature just after DLSS frame generation, then took like a year to get it out. They need to be much more proactive with these features so that they're not making their Radeon GPU buys having to wait for ages for features that their competitors are already getting. So, yeah, if they can get up to speed with this sort of thing and keep accelerating, keep innovating, and keep developing the features and not have an FSR situation where they just don't update it for years, then that's going to put them in a really good position. But it sounds like from a lot of those interviews we've seen over the last month that AMD is heading more into the focusing on software. They're improving things like their ROCm feature for developers and that sort of thing, putting more resources into it. So hopefully that means they won't be lagging as far behind with the Radeon features. But we'll see. We can't really comment too much on it because we don't know what it's going to be like. But it's good that they're talking about it at least.
Yeah,